Hi, this is Dr. Mark Winegar, and I want to talk to you for just a moment or two about Xhtml. Essentially, Xhtml is an extremely strict version of HTML 4.01. And the reason that we want to use this version or this DTD of HTML is that we want to be compatible with the greatest number of web devices and web users possible. Back in the old days when we had desktops and notebooks or laptops, you could count on certain dimensions and certain behaviors on the hardware, and there was a much more finite or smaller set of browsers to work with. But things have radically changed today. Today we have tablet computers like the Apple iPad that are using their own versions of browsers. And we have all of these smartphones like the Blackberries and the Apple iPhones. And there are many more smartphones today on the web than there are computers. Well, we really need to be addressing those users on those devices. Xhtml forces us to be compliant with that. And that's a good thing. So I've loaded up my FDR page, and I've made a couple of changes to it. And if you go over to the w3schools.com site, and under the HTML menu, you'll see Xhtml and doc type, and that's where we're at. And I'm going to move down to the section entitled Xhtml How To. And you can follow along with that as I discuss what I've done to this page. Now, the first thing that I did was I added the doc type because I hadn't put one there yet. And this one is a little bit different than the doc types we've used before. It starts out the same, but then the directory structure on the w3.org server is a little bit different. From the root, and let me expand the size a little bit so you can read it better. I guess it's okay. Okay, from the root, we go to the tr directory. From there, we go to the xhtml1 subdirectory. From that location, we go to the dtd subdirectory, and we refer to the standard file x html1-strict.dtd. Okay, so we're going to use the highest standard possible in validating our web page. Now, another requirement of Xhtml is to add this namespace entry as an attribute to our HTML tag. So on the HTML start tag, we added XMLNS equals, and then it's a link. So it's in quotes, http:// www.w3.org /1999 /X HTML. Okay, so our next step then is to change all of our tags and all of the attribute names to lowercase. Now, I knew that I wanted to get you to the point of doing X HTML level web pages. And so I started you out in the very beginning with lowercase elements and attribute names. And we've been consistent with that all along. So you can go through this entire document and every single element and every single attribute name is lowercase. And that's what we want. Okay, all of our attribute values have to be quoted. That's step 4. Now, let me move down to an attribute. Here we go. Here's a width attribute, which we could have said width equals 200 without the quotes. And that would have been consistent with some earlier versions of HTML. But I never even let you know that was an option. And so we've been putting quotes around these numbers all the time. So all of our attribute values are quoted. Another thing that we need to do, step 5, is to make sure all of our tags are closed. And so I've been very meticulous about closing our empty tags, like image and break. And I've also been very meticulous as we coded that as soon as I created a start tag, I created the stop tag, and then came back and inserted items within those tags. So we are compliant there. That's a good habit to get into. The last step is to validate our page. And so I'm going to move up to the top, and I've got the W3C markup validation service right here. I like using the direct input, so I'll click on that tab. You simply highlight all of your source code, which could take a little bit. Then copy it to your keyboard buffer. On my Mac, that's an OpenC. Then I go back to the other window into the enter the markup to validate box and do a Control V. And there's my code. And now I'm going to click on the check button. Okay, it did find an error. So what we need to do is to find that error. And it's on line 23, column 57. The end tag for meta omitted. Okay? And it looks like on our patriotic speeches, for some reason, we forgot to put in our greater than symbol. Okay? Oh, no. No. I think I know what the problem is. Let's find that. We started the meta tag, we didn't finish it. An old habit did come out to haunt me. I need a /meta or this. Okay. Now let's make sure all of our meta tags have that. You need to end. That meta tag does. That meta tag does. By golly. Okay, now that we've made our check, made our change, let's revalidate it. And it passed. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my source. I'm going to find that meta tag way up to the top. And there it is. Now we're compliant. We'll save that out before we forget. And now my web page is in Xhtml. That's the way to go. And I'll see you later.